The last bit of the movie is all about Mozart dying, and I was trying not to think too much about my demise in that moment, so that wasn't great. I really wanted her to end up with the hot, young, sweet, caring, loving doctor. I went in expecting nothing and came out surprised by how much I loved it. I really enjoyed watching this movie, but I hated the ending. Hated it. Hello, my name is Meghan Martian, and I'm a cartoon that likes to talk about cartoons, and sometimes other stuff. This video falls into the other stuff category since it's another film diary. Each month I like to create a video reviewing all the movies that I've watched. Feel free to check out any of my other film diaries if you're in need of more movie and TV show recommendations. I'll have them linked in the description below. So without further ado, let's dive into my June film diary. You might notice that I didn't put up a film diary for May. I actually only wound up watching 4 movies that month because I was pretty busy, so I'm sneaking May's movies into my June film diary. So first up, very quickly, are the 4 movies that I watched in May. First is a movie that I was so hyped to see, Challengers. I'd been anxiously awaiting the release of this movie since I first saw the trailer on Twitter. I may have set my expectations way too high though, because when I finally watched this movie, I felt a bit disappointed. Don't get me wrong, it was entertaining and the casting is spectacular, but I found the music aggravating and awkward, the editing choppy and disjointed, and the constant emasculation of art super uncomfortable. I fully went into this expecting it to be my favorite movie of the summer, maybe even the year, and so I'm super surprised that it didn't turn out that way. Challengers felt more preoccupied with creating a pretentious, cool aesthetic than with telling an engaging story. And the ending, I could not believe the ending, and I don't even know what to say about it except that it made me laugh out loud and scream, "What the f?" I know this movie was super popular though, so don't hate me. It just wasn't for me. Next was Thelma the Unicorn, which is about a miniature pony who dreams of becoming a music star and is very much not magically transformed into a pink sparkly unicorn, catapulting her into fame and fortune. This movie was fun to watch, although it could be a bit grotesque at times, which I wasn't expecting. I loved the music, the voice acting, and that the movie didn't take itself too seriously. Next was Rugrats in Paris, a classic. I've been watching a lot of the Rugrats show lately, I just find it really comforting, so it seemed fitting that I rewatched one of the movies. It was nice to revisit a movie that I absolutely loved when I was younger. I love that this movie focuses a bit more on Chucky and his longing for a mother in his life. I always get a little choked up when that one scene and the plane comes on with that banger, "I Want a Mom That Will Last Forever" in the background. So good. Last in May was Ugly Dolls. My experience with this movie was the exact opposite of Challengers. I went in expecting nothing and came out surprised by how much I loved it. Ugly Dolls is about a misfit named Moxie who lives in a town called Uglyville, which is inhabited by all the unconventional toys too flawed to make it onto shelves. Moxie dreams of finding the child who will love her in the real world, and the movie follows her pursuit of that dream. As I watched Ugly Dolls, I kept thinking to myself, Moxie has such an amazing voice. Wow, who is this? And then after a quick Google search, I couldn't believe that I didn't immediately recognize that she is voiced by the amazing Kelly Clarkson, who I didn't realize was still willing to do movie musicals after the wonderfully terrible From Justin to Kelly. I loved Ugly Dolls. The songs are so freaking catchy, and I always appreciate kids' movies that emphasize the importance of inner beauty, a positive attitude, and resilience. First up, we have Something's Gotta Give, which stars Diane Keaton, Jack Nicholson, and Keanu Reeves. If you love a good rom-com with a twist, this one's for you. Something's Gotta Give is about a womanizer named Harry, his very young girlfriend, Marin, I cannot remember how to say her name, and Marin's mom, and Harry's hot doctor. And everyone dates everyone. There's lots of your typical early 2000s rom-com humor in this one if you're into that sort of thing. I certainly am. I really enjoyed watching this movie, but I hated the ending. Hated it. I absolutely cannot believe who Diane Keaton chooses in the end. I mean, I can. It was pretty obvious that the movie was setting up that pairing, but, and spoiler alert, I really wanted her to end up with the hot, young, sweet, caring, loving doctor who always respected and appreciated her for who she is. Not him. Next was another romantic movie, La La Land. Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone sing, dance, and jazz their way into our hearts. Those two have such great chemistry. I love seeing them in movies together. Crazy Stupid Love is another good one. This was a rewatch. La La Land is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love everything about it except the ending, just like with Something's Gotta Give. The music, the costumes, the color choices, the romance, the whole chase your dreams thing, it's all so incredibly good. But that ending, I can't with the ending. Am I the only one who likes happy endings? Next was another rom-com that I watched with one of my friends, Anyone But You. I feel like I haven't seen a good rom-com come out in forever, so I was eager to check out Anyone But You, which is a will they, won't they, love-hate rom-com. I thought it was cute, but not anything to write home about. I think I would have liked it better if the male lead was someone other than Glenn Powell. He just doesn't have a sweet romantic face to me like Keanu Reeves. Remember last month when I went on a business trip and I said that I needed something light and funny to watch because I'm not a fan of flying and I need to think happy thoughts? Well, I had another business trip in June and I guess I was feeling a little overconfident since everything went so smoothly last time. On the plane ride back home, I watched Amadeus, another favorite movie of mine.
Mozart?
This movie is a masterpiece, pun intended, but maybe it wasn't the best choice for the plane ride for reasons I'll explain in just a second.
You're merciful God. He destroyed his own beloved rather than let a mediocrity share in the smallest part of his glory.
Amadeus tells the story of Mozart from the perspective of a jealous and obsessive and not as talented composer, Antonio Salieri. This movie is so good, but so long. It had me captivated nearly the entire plane ride. I hate flying. That is until the last 20 minutes of the flight and the last 20 minutes of the movie. During the last 20 minutes of descending, this flight had the worst turbulence I have ever experienced. Women were yelling, kids were crying, it was nuts. As we were shaking and dropping and I was wondering if this is it, I was trying to stay laser focused on the last bit of the movie to take my mind off of it. The last bit of the movie is all about Mozart dying, and I was trying not to think too much about my demise in that moment. So that wasn't great. But Amadeus is great. It's the best movie that I watched this month, and I highly recommend that you watch it too, but maybe not while flying. Next was Training Day. Although I watched this movie safely on the ground, I still found myself feeling stressed as heck as I watched poor Ethan Hawke white-knuckle his way through the worst first day on the job ever. This movie is so tense and stressful, but it is amazing. The last movie I watched in June was also the strangest and most unique, Ren Faire. I am a big fan of the Texas Renaissance Festival, so I was super intrigued when I saw this pop up on HBO Max. It's a documentary about a power struggle for ownership of the Texas Renaissance Festival following King George's retirement announcement. This was the most undocumentary style documentary I have ever seen. And what I mean by that is that it felt more like I was watching a drama. I was getting Game of Thrones vibes. Very unique, but also very bizarre. Each person vying for King George's throne is as bizarre as they are endearing. And as for King George, he sure is something.
The perfect way to go would be to have a woman screw me to death. And that's my goal.
If you're in the mood for something a little strange, I highly recommend you check out Ren Faire. And that's it. All the movies that I watched in June. Please feel free to comment any movie recommendations you have. Next month, I'm going to attempt to watch a movie every single day of the month for my next film diary, so I'm definitely going to need those recommendations. If you've already given me one, thank you! I'm really looking forward to checking them all out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.